Hi everyone, welcome back to Sakyo Jun's live channel. This is part of my series Talk with AI, where I explore real-life stories and dig deeper through a conversation with AI. Today's topic is, what should we do when a new hire keeps messing up? Today's story comes from a junior manager at a company. Over the years, he's trained many new hires, but this time, he is facing the most challenging one he's ever worked with. Despite multiple efforts, the new hire consistently fails to meet expectations or deadlines. The situation has left the manager feeling stuck and even wondering, am I the problem? Maybe I just don't know how to train people. However, the company hopes to retain the new employee, and letting him go is the last resort. So the manager is now seeking advice. What can he do? What should he do? He gave a few examples to show what's been going wrong. Both he and the new hire work in sales and client communication. Their job is to understand what the client wants and clearly pass those instructions to the design team. But the new hire keeps messing up the handoff. The manager isn't sure whether he doesn't understand the instructions or just isn't able to explain them clearly. Here is one example. A client came in with a $3 million budget and asked for a project that included 3 elements, A, B, and C. The tricky part, element A is expensive to produce and would take up a big chunk of the budget. The manager explained his usual approach. Suggest the client scale back on A or replace it with something similar but cheaper. But when the new hire spoke to the client, he said, A is too expensive. How about we just do B and C instead? The manager was floored. That kind of response, he thought, might turn the client away. In another example, the manager was walking the new hire through how to manage a project. He clearly explained all the steps, how long each one should take, and told him he'd need to follow up to keep things moving. But they just didn't seem to click. The new hire didn't take initiative. Instead of checking on progress as things moved along, he'd wait until something was already late, and only then say, oh, the previous team hasn't finished their part yet. Because of that, the manager didn't feel comfortable leaving tasks in his hands. Every time he assigned something, he'd follow up with, are you sure you understand? The new hire would always say yes. He could even repeat the instruction back clearly, step by step. But when it came time to actually do the work, things still went off track. It felt like he got it in the moment, but somehow things always fell apart in execution. That's the story for today. These days, it's really hard to find the right people for the job. A lot of companies are hiring, but not necessarily finding a good match. In this case, we can see the manager really tried, but there's still a big gap between what he expected and how the new hire is performing. So my question is, when someone just isn't meeting the mark, how should we adjust? AI said, let's look at this in 3 layers. First, redefine what good enough looks like. Not all struggles are the same. If someone is careless and avoids responsibility, that's hard to fix. But if they are confused but willing to learn, that's coachable. In this case, the manager may still have a few tools to try. First, break things down further. If the new hire repeats instructions but still gets it wrong, the problem may be in how they process logic. Try using flowcharts or right versus wrong examples to help build clear thinking. Second, use real-time practice. Don't just explain, simulate. Role-play client conversations and correct mistakes on the spot. It sticks better than written instructions. And remember, managers aren't rescue teams. You can support someone, but you also need a stopping point. Do your best, but know your limits. That was AI's response. And here's what I said next. I've been thinking about something. In every generation, it seems like experienced people look at new hires and go, wait, how do you not know that? Isn't that just basic common sense? Maybe part of that comes from the fact that as we gain experience, our standards quietly shift. What once felt like a skill becomes second nature. And we forget what it's like to be new. But I also wonder, maybe people are really different today. Maybe it has to do with how they were raised or educated. Or maybe it's just that people are taking longer to grow into adult responsibilities. AI said, yes, in many ways. Today's new hires do behave differently from those in the past. And that's not just perception. It reflects real changes in how society works. First, education has shifted. Modern education tends to focus more on creativity and self-expression, but often overlooks logic and structure. Students aren't always taught how to communicate clearly, organize their thoughts, or deliver precise instructions. That gap shows up quickly in the workplace. Second, there are fewer chances to develop social maturity. With smaller families and fewer siblings, kids today have less experience with teamwork, conflict, or negotiation growing up. They also tend to grow up in more protective environments. So, when they enter the real world, even mild criticism can feel overwhelming. Third, society now allows for delayed adulthood. People get married later, settle into stable jobs later, and take longer to define their adult roles. Naturally, that means it also takes longer to fully adjust to the workplace. That was Ed's response. And here's what I said next. You said modern education often skips over logic and structure. But was that really something schools focused on in the past? Ed said, good question. Older schools didn't always teach logic directly, but the environment kind of forced you to pick it up. Here is why people back then may have developed those skills earlier. 1. School was tougher. If you got something wrong, there were real consequences. Scolding, bad grades, even repeating a year. So students learned to follow steps, understand instructions, and avoid mistakes. Second, fewer resources meant more effort. Textbooks were the main resource of information. You had to take your own notes and organize things yourself. Third, more responsibility at home. Many kids helped with chores or took care of siblings. That taught time management, problem solving, and follow through. Today, things are different. We have tools like Google and AI to organize info for us. And schools are more forgiving. Mistakes don't feel as serious. So now, unless we intentionally teach logic and structure, many people never really learn it. That's why some managers say, it's not that I don't want to train people, I just don't know where to start. That was AI's response. In my own experience, I've noticed that some people are really good at training new hires, and some just aren't. Personally, I often struggle to figure out what actually needs to be explained and what feels like common sense. Teaching specific skills is usually straightforward because the steps are clear. But the hard part is explaining the things that have already become second nature, the stuff we don't even think about anymore. Are you good at training others? Or when you were just starting out, did you have a manager who really knew how to teach? That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening. And if this sparked any thoughts, I'd love to hear from you. See you next time. Take care.